Our CNBC All-Stars and market insiders are standing by. We'll cover all aspects of the story. First up, though, Diana Olick on today's big mortgage rescue story coming out of Washington. Hi, Diana.
Hi, Melissa. You know, some say it's a good step forward about a year too late. The conservator of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac announcing a streamlined loan modification program that could affect thousands of borrowers. Under the plan, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will modify loans for borrowers who are 90 days delinquent or more. They must have a more than 90% loan-to-value ratio, so that does get borrowers who are underwater on their loans. Fannie and Freddie would lower the interest rate to as low as 3% and or extend the term of the loan.
If that doesn't get to be affordable at that 38% debt-to-income ratio I talked about, then they'll look at taking a piece of that principal and not having you pay any interest or for the life of the mortgage potentially. But yes, as you sell the house, or you would eventually have that balloon payment.
Now, Fannie and Freddie would also pay servicers $800 per loan to do all the dirty work involved. Of course, this does not get to the loans that were sold out of the portfolio, that is, into securities that investors bought. And it also comes on the heels of Citi Mortgage announcing that they will modify up to $20 billion worth of loans that are not yet delinquent. Melissa?
All right, Diana, stay with you where you are. I'm going to take over this thing. Charlie Gasparino is going to come in, our great pal. You know Charlie Gasparino?
Yeah.
One of the interesting things in the exit polls for the most recent election, they asked about bailouts. 56% opposed, 40% in favor. Okay, that's almost 60 to 40, Charlie. So here we go again. We're going to help people with their mortgages. It's only 6.5% of total mortgages in default. Charlie, is this thing going to work? Should it work? What's the public reaction going to be in your view?
I mean, I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, I think, what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that, enough is enough. I mean, we're bailing out everything that moves. And there's a point in time where the government has to back off. Now, what's kind of interesting about this, now, obviously I'm not my surveys are not scientific, and the exit polls are much more scientific, is that those poll numbers sort of contradict the sort of political direction the country is going in. I mean, we elected somebody who is, whose whole record is in Barack Obama, whose whole record is about big government. We have Democrats controlling both houses by bigger majorities who advocate bigger government. I mean, you can't get bigger government than Nancy Pelosi.
But maybe,
or
Charlie, it was about change and not a real leftward lurch. Well, maybe that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, I think so. And, that's what it seems to me, because when you talk to people, when you look at the exit polls, they're getting sick and tired of bailouts. Now, there's another thing out there where people are losing their jobs in big numbers. And, when you hear some of the call-ins, like I do Donnie Deutsch's show, and Donnie gets these call-ins, every one of them is pleading for bailout. Everybody that you hear, they want the bailout. They want the bailout. They want what Wall Street is giving. But when you ask them to sit back and think about it, okay, think about should the government be throwing money at every problem, they clearly say no.
Diana, I want to drill down on some of these details here, because you're a master of details of all these plans. My concern, as I was reading more about this today, was they said they are not writing down the principal, at least in the Freddie and Fannie plan. To me, that doesn't really solve the problem, because the thing that we're trying to address is that home values, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, no, that's the biggest issue, and that's what we tried to get Mr. Lockhart to answer us on, which he very begrudgingly did, is that they say, well, they're going to make you pay less on less principal, but that principal would not really permanently go down. It would go into a balloon payment at the end of the loan. Now, part of the original FHA plans were that lenders had to write down that principal to 90% of the current value of the loan. That is not a part of this plan at all. So if you have a home that is worth far less than your loan, you're still going to be paying for something that has little worth. That is, even if they lower the payment temporarily, when you get hit by selling that house, maybe 5 years down the road, and it's still less than the value of the mortgage, guess what? You got to pony up the money for that full loan. They're not writing down the principal.
Not only that, I mean, Diana, how complicated is that? I mean, one of the things that everybody was saying at the beginning of this problem was predatory lending, where these poor borrowers do not understand what they're really signing up for. Do you really think that someone who's underwater right now and has this explained to them is necessarily going to understand that they're just putting off this payment into way in the future their house may still be worth less than that?
Well, wait a minute. How about this, Diana?
Let's not sound short. They may understand.
Let me rephrase this, because here's what I'm hearing. From Melissa's criticism, here's what I'm hearing. This is another teaser rate. which is how we got into
Absolutely.
subprime trouble.
Absolutely.
This is a teaser
Absolutely.
rate
This is
up
a
front
3%
and a big
loan.
balloon payment
Right.
in the back. And guess what? They'll get sucked into the teaser rate up front. They'll never be able to pay the balloon out back, and we'll have the foreclosure problem go on
And
for
you're
another
pushing
100
out the
years.
inevitable.
That's
And-
why this
and
is
it's
such
just-
a goofy idea, Diana. I don't like any
Okay,
part
well,
of
let
this.
me finish because I'm the one
Okay.
standing out here in the cold, Larry. So here it is. It's also with the city. The same thing with the mortgage, the city mortgage group. They're looking to do these lower rates. They're looking to write down to even 1-2%, and that's just going to push back the problem, say 2 or 3 years
But they're not
from
reducing
now.
principal.
Because they are not reducing principal, and the problem is that they're betting on the fact that home prices will go up again, which was the initial
Right.
bet that got
But
us all into
when?
this big mess.
You know
and
what I
that's
don't get?
likely not going to happen.
Hang on 1 second. We're gonna bring in. Stay where you are, Charlie. Stay where you are, Diana. Diana, put your overcoat and your hat on. We don't want you to be out there in the cold, Lord forbid. Joining us now is former OFEO director, former Fannie Freddie regulatory director, Armando Falcon. Armando, thank you very much. I think you heard that conversation. And again, I don't want to speak for Melissa, but I think we're both sort of barking up the same tree, and that is this looks a lot like a teaser rate to suck them in at the front end and a balloon rate to screw them at the back end. And in my opinion, that's a terrible idea. If you're going to take them out of the mortgage, then be good liberals and just take them out. Let the government just buy the bloody things with a New Deal. This is pathetic liberalism that's going to make it worse, Armando.
I think your points are well taken. These borrowers need two things. They need help with cash flow, and that's what's being done with this plan. But what it lacks is exactly what you've been saying, is help with the principal amounts that are due. Think about this. The plan applies to borrowers who put down maybe 0 to 10% at the peak of the housing boom. And we know now in certain areas of the country, like in California, home prices have fallen by up to a third right now. If these borrowers have a home that's worth $200,000 and their mortgage is for $300,000, no amount of help on the payments or cash flow is going to give them any incentive to participate in this program and stay in their home.
Hey, Larry, you know what else I'm hearing from people? Is that we are helping people with all these plans that did irresponsible things. I mean, okay, Wall Street was incredibly irresponsible. I covered it every step of the way. But I'm writing a book about this stuff. And, you know, when I talk to brokers and I talk to people in the mortgage business, you know, people didn't care. I mean, I know there was obviously predatory lending, and there was obviously sleazy brokers who just, you know, wrote anything down in the application. But a lot of times, people kind of didn't care how much the balloon payment would be, how much they would have to pay in the future.
Charlie,
they
I
just
mean,
went out there and they bought these homes. They made $40,000 a year.
I mean, I applaud
No, it's not
the
the past.
idea.
It's now. It's personal
Well,
responsibility.
we're paying for it, but I applaud the idea that we realize that a lot of this problem right now, rather than working on the banks, working on GM, we need to focus a lot on the mortgage industry, on the holding
we are giving handouts to people who did irresponsible things. I'm telling you,
That's the bottom line.
It's happening all
because
over this country.
95%.
But we're
and
giving
it's
handouts somewhere. Maybe this is the place to
No, I'm
focus.
just telling you,
We're
it's just
throwing
so
money
bad.
everywhere.
It's just
Charlie
so bad.
Gasparino, hold that thought, because that, look, if you look, the default rate is still under 7% of total mortgages out there. The foreclosure rate is still less than 3% of total mortgages out there. Okay, so if it goes up, but the fact of the matter is, 94% of the people are paying on time. And if your home price goes down a bit and you lose the loan to value advantage, they pay it anyway. That's called personal responsibility, Charlie Gasparino. Whatever happened to free market capitalism?
and
Whatever happened to responsibility?
You know what happened? But you know what happened here? We were handing money to people, and some people were taking advantage of, but a lot of people were just irresponsible. And by getting all that free money through all these crazy loans and through Fannie and Freddie, you essentially bid up the prices of homes to levels that were astronomical. Even for working class people could not live in working class neighborhoods anymore because the housing prices rose. And now what we're doing is we're just feeding the frenzy. These houses, you should not have to buy a house in Queens for $1 million unless it's
I don't think it costs that
Let me add one thing to that from the conference today, from the Fannie Mae announcement. Well, let me add one more thing, though. In the Fannie announcement, there was a reporter there afterwards who said, is this plan going to help anyone in California? And nobody would answer the question. You know why? Because of precisely what Charlie Gasparino is saying. Because home prices in California, which is the biggest problem, the biggest foreclosure issue, home prices rose so far that the median price was well above $500,000, well above the Fannie Freddie conforming loan limit. So these loans in California have nothing to do with the Fannie Freddie plan.
Armando, markets are working to some extent, particularly out west. because of foreclosures, which is the natural scheme of things. I guess I'm not a compassionate conservative. I believe in free markets.
I'm right there with you, Larry.
Foreclosures have put so many homes on sale at very, very depressed prices, down 30, 40, 50%. But Armando, out west in California and Nevada, sales are going up. Foreclosure auctions are occurring everywhere. On this show, 6, 8 weeks ago, we had a foreclosure auctioneer. The guy's busy. He's running a landmine business, Armando. Why can't that work to clear out the inventory through market forces rather than these phony government, pseudo-liberal, teaser rate up front, balloon payment in the back?
But Larry, isn't it possible that part of the market forces are that banks are going to want to get paid, so maybe they should
let banks do it.
Let them do
the
it.
loans
Let them
themselves?
do it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm
ultimately-
saying Fannie and Freddie, that's not the way to go. But banks that want to get paid, maybe they should reduce the
Armando,
principal.
Sheila Bair's got a good liberal solution. She's going to put government loan guarantees behind the whole thing. Okay, so in a sense, I respect Ms. Bair. At least she's being honest and said, we're just going to take you out with a loan guarantee.
But the
This
ultimately, the markets will
way,
take care
Larry.
of
The
it.
Treasury won't buy that.
This is neither fish nor fowl, Armando.
Well, look, ultimately, yes, if you just left things to their own devices, ultimately what's happening in California will happen across the rest of the country. But policymakers have to make a decision. Do we let that natural selection happen in our market and risk driving our economy down to another depression, or do we try to selectively help? And that's what we've done with the TARP program, and it's what's trying to be done with different programs to help borrowers.
Melissa
No,
Francis,
we're just-
nobody
this
in
is just
America
one- this
loses
is just
anymore.
one of them.
Nobody fails. Nobody loses. Nobody gets punished
think
for
about
bad
it.
decisions. All we're doing,
No, you know
Diana Olick, all
I
we're
think
doing
they are
is...
going to get punished in spite of what the government is trying to do. It's
Diana,
only
we are
making it worse.
rewarding bad behavior, Diana. That's
Look,
where I come out on
You're preaching
this.
to the choir. You're preaching to the choir
Right.
because
Well,
a
I'm
year and a
glad to
half
hear
ago,
that.
during the housing boom, it was me standing out here saying these prices are unsustainable.
But were
And
you
guess
And by the
what?
way,
They
and by the way,
were.
this is
Nobody
just- and
was
Larry,
listening.
When you made those reports, Diana,
She
were you
was.
cold
Well,
as
half
you
the
are
time.
tonight? I am
Yeah,
worried.
half the time she
I
was
am
freezing.
worried about your being
It's
freezing.
colder
I
today.
truly
It's
am.
colder
Larry,
this year, Larry. It's much colder.
Larry, before the end of the week, there's going to be 5 more plans for government
understand.
bailouts. You know that.
I'm waiting for the
we
real
got
look.
GM,
Yeah.
we got the
Let's
retailers.
just take them all
They're
out.
just-
Nobody
let's just-
fails in
Let's just not
America.
have any private business anymore.
I think what free market capitalism needs, what long-term prosperity needs, is a failure. Every now and then, according to Joseph Schumpeter and Milton Friedman, somebody has to fail. Anyway, Armando Falcon, thank you. Diana Olick, thank you. Charlie Gasparino, we're going to see you later for some more Wall Street reports.